Today is the day that Starfield was supposed to come out. Sadly, we're having to wait until sometime in 2023 for the game to actually release, so understandably, many gamers, myself included, were somewhat upset by news of a delay. Personally, I'd really been looking forward to both playing and covering it this year, but now I know that won't be happening. While the delay is probably for the best, as it hopefully means the game will be coming out in a decent state and devs won't be put under too much crunch, it does leave a big old sci-fi space game void that a lot of us are looking to fill. So while we're all waiting for Starfield, I've found 10 different sci-fi games to scratch that itch in the meantime. Starting off with one of the better known games on the list, The Outer Worlds. This Obsidian developed RPG was released back in 2019 and had massive hype around it before it was even out. I just went to double check I got the release date for the game right, and I came across this review which gives the game 5 stars and was written before the game was even out. That's madness. And this overhype did work against the game in some regards, as a lot of people seem to think that it would be a massive open world RPG that we'd all be playing for years and years. Instead, we got a really good game for a couple of expansive playthroughs, which is by no means a bad thing, and is why it's on the list. If you're looking for a really well crafted space-based RPG, but don't want to be stuck on one playthrough for weeks or months, then this is ideal. How Long to Beat has a completionist run of the game marked as taking less than 40 hours, which means that even if you don't have a ton of spare time, it's the sort of game you can chip away at during the weekends without dragging on for too long. With a wide range of interesting characters, colourful biomes, and wacky weapons, The Outer Worlds is definitely worth checking out, even if you previously decided against it. Next up, I want to talk about Cyberpunk 2077, but honestly, I'm not sure what angle I should be taking here. I started writing this script months ago, when the game was near universally panned online, and it was largely known as a buggy mess and not much else. As such, I was originally planning on talking about the rich side characters with their own dedicated questlines, the interesting perk tree / character progression, and the beauty of a true cyberpunk setting, which you can explore in first person. Since the Edgerunners anime and update came out though, the game has seen a huge boost in popularity, the average player count on Steam quintupling. While the hype has started to die down a bit again, I do feel that I should offer the warning that the game is still buggy. There's still plenty of things which can go wrong or don't quite function right, and if you're on an older machine, then performance likely will be suboptimal. But the game still can be a lot of fun. It's a vast open world with a variety of side quests, a full cybernetic system which can turn you into a living weapon, and a Keanu Reeves who plays one of the least likeable characters I've ever had follow me around in a game. What more could you ask for? Look, it's a divisive game and certainly not for everyone. Although quite amusingly in the script here I've just read, it actually says certainly not for anyone, which I find very funny. For me personally, I've uninstalled the game and don't have any plans to return to it. While I enjoyed plenty of its elements, the game clearly was broken in a lot of places, even after the Edgerunners update, and the main quest itself is one I actively dislike. But I've heard many others online sing endless praise onto the game, and talk about how much they adore the journey it takes you on. It's very difficult to outright recommend Cyberpunk to everyone, because it's a real love it or hate it game. But if 50-50 odds are your thing, then maybe Night City is exactly where you want to be. Alright, let's take a step back from these big and somewhat divisive games, and look at something much smaller, but also more focused. Citizen Sleeper. This is a beautiful narrative RPG that released this year. You are a sleeper, some sort of robotic being with a human mind, created to be corporate property and work for them forever. But instead, you escape your life and end up aboard the Erlin's Eye, an abandoned space station where you have to find a new life. Either stay aboard the station and try to stop anyone that comes after you, or escape from there and make a new life for yourself, hopefully far enough away from those who are hunting you. The true strength of this game comes from its characters. There's no voice acting or character animations, so it all comes down to the writing, which is perfect. I encountered a shipyard worker by the name of Lem, who wants nothing more than to give his daughter Mina a better life on an actual planet. He will work tirelessly in order to try and achieve this, and the devotion he showed changed how I was playing the game. Initially, I decided I would craft myself a happy life on the space station, and go for that ending. But the sympathy I felt for this pair led me down the route of doing everything I could to make sure they achieved their goals, and my game ending shifted to one revolving around them. I should also point out that I am a heartless person. My emotions are deeply suppressed. It is rare that a character ever speaks to me in a video game, but when they do, it's because they have been done just so well. They hit it just right. While a playthrough of Citizen Sleeper can easily be polished off in a single weekend, with the vast array of characters and different endings available, this is a game which you can go back to time and time again, looking for different sides to join, different choices to make, and different outcomes to witness. The gameplay mechanics themselves are very tabletop, revolving around random dice rolls and stats, but they fit in perfectly, and it never feels like you're prey to the whims of RNG, as the dice rolls instead shape just what tasks you end up doing on different cycles. I absolutely adore this game, and if you're looking for a sci-fi story with deep characters and a philosophical edge, then you will not be going wrong here. If that last entry was a little too heavy and lacking some real action, then maybe instead you'll be a fan of Borderlands 3. This entry in the franchise takes the immature humour and ridiculous firearms into space. Hop aboard the Sanctuary 3, visit various different planets owned by corporate powerhouses, and shoot enemies with fancy space lasers. While Borderlands 2 is always the game that fans of the franchise will go on about, the sequel improves on the movement and gameplay, while presenting you much more of a sci-fi setting, making it the perfect game for this list. With 4 distinct characters to play as, various fun builds to try out, and an engaging story, this is an almost ideal game to occupy your time while waiting for Starfield. After all, there are plenty of side missions to keep you busy, and 4 well-crafted DLCs, with Guns, Love and Tentacles being the standout for me. This is a lot of content to be getting through, although that does come with the downside of being the largest file size game on this list, coming in around 100 gigs. If you've got the file size free, then great, but I do feel like I have to bring this up as a potential flaw, as it's something you have to consider before picking the game up. If you do install the game though, feel free to check out my beginner's guide to get you started, and take you through the basics of gameplay so you can jump right in without too much reading of tutorials. There is actually one other thing which might put you off of Borderlands, that being the somewhat immature humour. There can be some real eye-roll moments to it, so if you prefer a game that's just a bit more gritty and grounded, then I'd recommend Outriders. Just like Borderlands, this is a sci-fi shooter for 1 to 4 players. I personally went through the game solo and loved it. There's a lot of stuff about this game that just works really well. The world level system provides a great difficulty customization, where you can go for low world levels, which means enemies are all weak, but the loot you get kind of sucks. Or you can keep raising it up, making your foes stronger and stronger, but giving you better gear to ensure you can match them in a fight. This is a great system, as it means if you just want to power through the story, you can keep the world level low and have an easy time of it all. But if you instead are really into loot levels and getting legendary gear, then you can keep cranking up the difficulty all the way to 15 and get some real unique weapons to play around with. And these are the 2 best elements of a game in my opinion. The loot system is very familiar to most of us, as it follows the standard colour-based rarity system, but it truly feels rewarding to start out with common gear and slowly build up to more difficult encounters where you get legendary weapons which pack a real punch. It's a kind of natural grind which feels rewarding thanks to the top-notch gameplay and build-based abilities you get to play around with. And as for the story, I really clicked with it. You play as an outrider, a specialised soldier sent to scout out the new world you've landed on. After things go badly wrong, you end up being struck by a storm, thrown into cryosleep, and when you wake up decades later, you find out that you're an altered, one of the few who survived the dangerous storms of a planet, and now essentially have superpowers because of it. This plays both into the story and the gameplay mechanics, as you get to choose what type of powers the storm gave you, and characters in the game treat you with real reverence, as you're practically a god amongst men. The society you wake up to is also a real bleak one, mirroring many post-apocalyptic games where humanity has turned against one another and succumbed to their dark side. While overall somewhat dark, I find the player character treats the situation perfectly, not becoming one of those bleak protagonists who mirrors the world around them, but instead calls everyone out on being such idiots. In fact, the humour of the game seemed perfectly tailored to me. At least I assume the things I was laughing at were meant that way. There's a kind of running joke where people are either being needlessly ruthless or showing illogical mercy, and instantly get shot in the head due to this. It cracks me up every time, and I hope it's actually meant to be funny, or else I might just be a psychopath. I haven't quite finished Outriders, as it's a game where I've been inclined to go through every mission on the highest difficulty, but if you do fancy just powering through the story, then it's another game where you can get it done over the space of a couple of weekends. If you want to stretch the game out, then you can play every mission, and if you really want some bang for your buck, then you can play through as each of the 4 chosen classes. I've been playing as a Technomancer for that long-range lethality, but I'd be lying if I said that Pyromancer didn't strongly appeal to me too. Play as a team of 4 and you could have every one of you to take on a different role, with a tough Devastator to tank the damage, sneaky Trickster assassinating key targets, blazing Pyromancer on crowd control, and calm Technomancer surveying the battlefield and providing support wherever it's needed. While I enjoyed my time playing this solo, I imagine it's so much better with friends. But of course, real human friends can be a little tricky to come by. I still don't know how adults are supposed to make friends, so if you've got that knowledge, please share it in the comments, would be really helpful. While I wait on learning how to make IRL friends, I at least know I can rely on video game characters to be friends with me, and what better game for that than Mass Effect. This is the game on the list which I honestly don't think I need to talk about. I'm pretty sure everyone watching is already aware of Mass Effect, and why it's the sort of game you might want to try out while waiting for Starfield. This is the classic video game space opera. The Legendary Edition launched for it not that long ago, at least not long ago when I first started writing this script. It's probably been a while now, meaning you can play the game without it looking as bad as my footage does, and as a trilogy, it provides a narrative arc for dozens of engaging characters. Technically, I'm only talking about the first game for the purposes of this list, but that's really down to the fact it's the only one I've played. Some of the games on this list are ones I absolutely adore, others are just games I kind of have to acknowledge are good, even if they didn't click with me, and that's where Mass Effect lands. If you want a big, character-driven space RPG, then this is the perfect game from the list, with the first game not being huge on its own, but the trilogy combined giving you over 100 hours worth of time to push you closer to whatever Starfield's actual release date will be. If you're looking for a less direct narrative game, and instead want to explore open space and uncover subtle mysteries, then might I recommend Outer Wilds. This charming little space exploration game lets you hop aboard your craft and travel between a multitude of small planets, letting you discover the hidden lore of those realms and uncover the stories that the universe has in store for you. Twist is, you only have 22 minutes to explore before the sun goes supernova and you return to the start of the day. That's right, it's a time loop game. The core plot of the game revolves around finding out why all this is happening. Why does the sun explode? Why does time reset? Why are you the only one who remembers? If you're the kind of person who enjoys solving mysteries, then this is the game on the list for you. For a game where the entire universe gets destroyed, it's also surprisingly chill. You can spend your time roasting marshmallows, chatting with NPCs, or just admiring the scenery. If you prefer shooting lasers and space battles, then maybe this isn't for you. But if you're more so the sort of player who enjoys puzzles and explorations, then Outer Wilds is an ideal game. Time for another different sort of game, Aven Colony. The majority of the games in this list have put you in control of a character and then let you explore a sci-fi world. Haven Colony instead puts you in charge of a human colony on a new planet. It's your job to build a settlement where your citizens can live happy lives, safe from any approaching dangers. As a city builder, you'll be wanting to manage resources, ensure your citizens stay productive, and then fix the entire bloody place once yet another shardstorm damages all your buildings. It is a sci-fi game after all. With a large number of difficulties, scenarios to play through, and a variety of starting perks, the game is also greatly customizable. You can play it in a chill manner, simply trying to build your perfect colony, or you can crank up all the difficulty settings and struggle to claw out a life on a dangerous new planet. Honestly, there's not much more to say about Haven Colony. It's a sci-fi city builder. If that's your thing, then check it out. Onto a game that's far more complex, No Man's Sky. This game is huge, both literally and figuratively. Problem is, this means I've only scratched the surface in my short time with it, so I can't really say much. Fortunately, I know someone who can.
No Man's Sky is a space game, an immense sandbox of exploration, building and scattered lore, where your hand isn't held, and to a large degree you make your own adventure. You start No Man's Sky alone and vulnerable on an alien world, likely never before seen by human eyes. You mine some resources, seek shelter and fix some technology so you can locate your starship. You explore a little bit to fix your starship, and you earn the freedom to increase that exploration to other planets you can see in the sky. You explore further, investigating signals until you earn the technology to explore even further afield. The entire galaxy is now your playground. A potential 4.3 billion solar systems available to you. Find beautiful and extremely rare planets no one else has found. Build huge structures wherever you please, whether aesthetic masterpieces or functional farms, or investigate the origins of reality and the meaning of your existence. No Man's Sky has been evolving since launch over 6 years ago, with a great number of free updates adding content, features and platforms to the mix, and for the foreseeable future, we'll continue to benefit from free updates.
That was Zane from Zane's World. Over on his channel, there's regular uploads about No Man's Sky, delving into detail about the regular updates the game receives, guides on every aspect of it, and much, much more. If you want to learn anything else about the game, then check Zane's channel out. Link will be in the description. On to the final game of the list, Rebel Galaxy. Oh my god. There's a reason I left this game till last. It's cause I absolutely love it. This is the hidden showstopper I'm ending the video with. Rebel Galaxy is a Western-styled space trading and combat simulation game, and if that doesn't pique your interest, then you're dead inside. You fly through space in your ship, trading goods to upgrade your craft, and searching for your missing smuggler aunt. As you travel the galaxy, you'll encounter a number of different factions, and can take on bounties and missions from them in order to raise reputation, turning enemies into allies. Be careful though, because many quests will also lower reputation with other factions, so your allies could turn into enemies if you keep screwing them over. Something the game does incredibly well is the trading system. There's only a limited space in your hold to store tradable goods, so you may want to forego buying any goods and hoping to fill your hold from mining asteroids or fighting other ships. However, prices of goods fluctuate at times, and certain stations will sell you stuff incredibly cheap and buy other things from you for a premium. Buy low and sell high is the key to being able to purchase the best upgrades for your ship the fastest, or even an entirely new spaceship. The trading element of the game really is a huge draw for me, and while it doesn't sound that exciting, it really hooks you in a satisfying way. If you'd rather hear about the combat though, then fine. It's also great. You can get a range of different weapons on your ship with different specializations, but overall, the most important part of any fight is positioning. Keeping that perfect broadside on a fighter craft will stop it from being able to damage you, while letting you take it out. But sometimes you'll be outnumbered, and your best bet is to boost away and try to find some friendly crafts to even the odds. But the best part of the game? The very best part of all is the music. A mix of country and blues rock, it fits so perfectly. The music is the perfect thematic choice and enriches the experience no end. Problem is, it's all licensed, so I can't play any of it in the video. It absolutely sucks, but the very best element of the game is one I can't actually showcase to you. But trust me on this, it's so good. I grew up with Nobuo Uematsu's music for the Final Fantasy series, and that's where I draw the benchmark. As such, I'm constantly disappointed with music in games, because it rarely lives up to that high standard, but Rebel Galaxy knocks it out the park. And there we have it, my 10 game recommendations for those of us waiting on Starfield. Hopefully when Starfield does launch, it will be even better than all of the games on this list. I have high hopes for it, and it's totally not because the future of my channel rests on that game being good. Once it does launch, I'll be making an absolute boatload of content, including builds, guides, and live streams. For now though, I'm sticking with my daily challenge run episodes, so if you're interested in those, check out the playlists. If you just enjoyed this video, leave it a like, and comment your thoughts on the games mentioned. Make sure to check out Zane's channel, and as always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.